thinking through what works best at GM level, how we create almost a seamless approach to driving the economy of Greater Manchester as a very clear and distinctive functional economic geography. And I'm delighted to introduce Eamonn Boylan, Chief Executive of Stockport, who'll be joined by other colleagues who he will introduce. Eamonn has led all our investment strategies for many, many years, and we look forward to his presentation. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Howard, and welcome everyone to our ever so slightly understated stand. I'm delighted to be here, delighted that you've all made it here this morning. As Howard said, I want to say a little bit about where we are, where we've come from and where we're going in terms of our overall investment strategy. But I suppose the first thing that I want to say is whatever it is that we invest, it's really fundamentally about enabling you and others to invest, because we can create conditions, and we will continue to create conditions for investment, and we will continue to deliver projects. But fundamentally, it's about creating the context, the environment, and the confidence for you as the private sector to take that one stage further. Our strategy is fundamentally about growth and reform. A lot of what you see, a lot of how the investment strategy manifests itself in terms of sites and buildings are fundamentally important, and they are important in helping us drive our economic growth. But our investment strategy is also about how we make opportunity for people and create opportunity for our people to benefit from that investment. Last year, over the last 12 months, we've seen great progress. Our Evergreen Fund, the European financial instrument, is now fully invested and repaying. City Labs, one of the first investments that we made, has now fully repaid. It's now fully let and thriving down in the university corridor. And since July 2015, and it is only since July 2015, we've invested 150 million of the 300 million housing fund that Treasury gave us. Howard and I are confident on the basis they had good advice that we wouldn't be able to spend it. But we're determined we will not only spend it once, we'll spend it 3 times in order to generate 15 to 20,000 new homes across GM. So what does the future hold? In some senses, more of the same. Our investment criteria will remain the same. What are we after? Fundamentally, we're after jobs and quality jobs for Greater Manchester people. We're working hard with the European Union and government to put together a new set of financial instruments to enable us to continue to invest as we have done over recent years. Not always easy, given the changing rules, but we'll get there. But also, we are trying to create a much clearer context for investment as we move forward. Many of you will be aware of, many of you will have contributed to the latest phase in the development of our spatial framework. And we are working hard to have a consultation draft of the Greater Manchester Spatial Framework out and published in September, October of this year. So we really are trying to move as fast as we possibly can to complete what we think is probably the most ambitious spatial planning task being undertaken anywhere in the UK. And that's not just about generating volumes of sites and identifying sites and particular uses. It's also about improving the quality of places, and that's really at the heart of our agenda. And as part of the work that we're doing there, and again, many of you will be familiar with this, we're not simply looking at traditional housing and employment sites. We're trying to understand the need for employment sites in the context of an evolving economy that's much more digitally based, much more based around small and micro businesses with a very, very different need and a very, very different requirement for space moving forward. We'll also, over the next year, develop significant plans, very ambitious plans, to invest both in the fabric and in the quality of our health and social care system. We've taken on quite a unique challenge in GM. In February of last year, the Chancellor, after 3 months of negotiation, came to the Town Hall and said, 6 billion quid, have it. Just do a better job with it than it's been done before. But we know that we need to invest very significantly in new hospital estate, in new community provision, as Howard mentioned earlier on this morning. And we'll be looking to create an investment capability involving ourselves and the private sector to enable us to drive that forward. At the same time, we'll be working with our college estates and colleges at the end of the area-based review to make sure that we are getting the right investment into the right curriculum and the right skills for adults moving forward. And so both health and skills are central to our ambition for reform and to drive productivity and engagement of our population. And we're continuing to invest across the whole range in culture, Howard's already mentioned the fantastic investment opportunity that's been created through the evolution with the factory at the St John's project. We're continuing to invest in transport. Many of you who work in the city centre are very well aware that we're continuing to invest in transport, and but it'll be worth it in the end. So we're carrying on, we're pressing on, we're still being driven by our ambition around jobs and quality. And we know that we have a very, very ambitious growth agenda to manage. And we will only manage that if we are prepared to make bold moves, bold investments, opening up new areas for both employment and housing. And I'd like to hand over now to Keith Davies from Bolton Council, who'll talk to you about some of the great work that they're doing both on employment and housing in that part of GM. Keith.
Thanks very much for the opportunity to just share with you some of the things that we're doing in Bolton. What you'll see just emerging now is a video that shows you essentially how we're getting on with the £1 billion investment programme in Bolton that's evolved over the last 10 years, much of which has included funding through the Greater Manchester Framework and the investment funding as well, some of which is transport interchange, for example, which will really revolutionise the transport arrangements within the town centre of Bolton as well. But within that, what I wanted to do is just focus on two sites that are included within that, but essentially are exactly fit the bill as Eamonn was just describing in terms of both housing and employment. And the first one is Logistics North. Now, Logistics North, if you're familiar with it, if you've been going up the M61 recently, you will have seen a development of scale that's starting to emerge there. It was a UK coal extraction site, surrounded by green belt, so very difficult really in terms of planning to get it to a point of development. But crucially, its location is absolutely perfect from a logistics point of view. We're on that junction 4 of the M61, previously part of an economic development zone. And what is really helpful from our point of view is we've got a company who have a track record of regeneration of brownfield sites, and they emerged from UK Coal in Haworth Estates as a separate company to drive the regeneration of their property portfolio. So working with Haworth has been really, really helpful in terms of bringing forward this site. So now what we have is one of the biggest advanced manufacturing and logistics sites in the north of England. And it will deliver over 4 million square feet of bespoke industrial buildings. What is surprising all of us is the pace of occupation that's actually happening on that site. And crucial to that, of course, is the funding that we've been able to get, and I'll come on to that in a second. It would be remiss of me not to mention that part of the trade-off with the community was making sure that we had a managed country park as part of that. So the whole environment around Logistics North is right. This is the setup for Logistics North. It's a variety of different size units. As I say, different occupancy levels already starting within there. Companies already starting to take space in there. This is an extract from what you're seeing in the video, really. It's drone footage from just 2 weeks ago. You're starting to see the scale of development. Aldi, 600,000 square feet of logistics centre. They've started to occupy that, and they'll complete their occupation during this month. Similarly, we've got MBDA and Joy Global moving on site. They occupied during the summer of this year as well. And what is really, really interesting is the level of speculative building that's happening on the site as well. Nearly 800,000 square feet from M&G Estates and through Exeter. So a real statement of confidence in terms of the location and where the market is with something like this as well. What made it happen? Crucially was the investment funding that we were able to get to start with the phase 1 and phase 2 infrastructure, opening up the whole development, opening up spine roads to be able to access some of those crucial sites and take care of some of those other issues such as utilities and electrical provision as well. That will continue, opening up the site for further development, more access roads for Joy Global and First Industrial, opening up the eastern part of the site as well, and other plots to allow for that speculative development that we're talking about as well. And what does that mean for Greater Manchester? Well, a significant number of jobs coming forward as a result of Logistics North. 6,900 for the Northwest and 4,000 net new jobs for Bolton alone. And the value to the Greater Manchester economy in terms of GVA up to around £350 million per annum as well. What is also really important is the fact that we've got 1,300 jobs out of those 4,000 already on site, and that's only just a couple of years into the operation. So that's what I say. But what do the developers say? Well, Phil Wilson, who's in the room now, it's important to understand what the developers think about this. And as you can see, Phil is absolutely clear that this level of funding and this source of funding was a really important part of being able to open up the site in the timescales that we're talking about. So that's a good formula. Now what we're doing is we're applying that to Ringington Chase as well, which is a huge development for us in terms of housing. It's an old brownfield site, all local works, operational till the mid-1980s, but location-wise, it's in the right place. It's adjacent to Middlebrook, and we've got a joint venture between Blue Mantle and Orbit who are looking to take that forward over a 10-year period, and we're addressing some of the conservation and heritage issues as part of that. Big application for us that was approved last year, value to the economy again, in terms of jobs and gross development value as well as employment uses on the site as well. But crucially, 1,700 houses against the Greater Manchester target and the Bolton target for housing as well. So in terms of funding through Greater Manchester Investment Fund, there's two aspects really. One is the money that we've been able to secure for infrastructure and the work we've done with the HCA in Greater Manchester Place to be able to secure money to buy this week, hopefully complete this week, on a major portion of the site as well. So that's really helpful. But I mustn't undersell what opportunity we get through capacity through the arrangement that we have at Greater Manchester. Bringing the HCA in, bringing Greater Manchester Place in meant we could drive this forward much, much quicker. Again, and finally, the developer's view around this. And Mark Caldwell from Blue Mantle, who again is in the room today, just making sure that the developers understand and value the fact that we've got this source of funding that we can take forward and make these sites deliverable. So that's the aspect from Bolton's point of view. Thank you.
And finally, by no means least, I'd like to introduce Theresa Grant as Chief Executive of Trafford Council, who's going to talk to us about the hugely ambitious plans for Carrington.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce you to a very exciting opportunity called Future Carrington, based in Trafford. It's a site of about 640 hectares. It's owned by Highmore, and it presents a unique development opportunity for delivery of high-quality mixed-use community. The scale and strategic location of the site will enable the creation of a flagship mixed-use development that can meet the housing and employment needs of a growing city region and positively contribute to the Northern Powerhouse aspirations. The first phase of development, Carrington Village, is currently being prepared and will be submitted for planning in June of this year. The Carrington Village scheme will comprise of up to 900 houses and almost 1 million square feet of employment space, a new village centre and public open space. And phase 1 will commence on site in 2018. The preparation of the master plan, setting out proposals for later phases, is also being prepared alongside the emerging Greater Manchester spatial framework, and centred on reclamation of the old petrochemical works, which you can see if you look in on the plan. Phase 2 will deliver around 1,500 houses and 650,000 square metres of new employment spaces, and we anticipate that that application will be submitted in early 2018. So in total, the Future Carrington opportunity has the potential to deliver up to 7,000 residential units. And overall, it will deliver 8 million square feet of employment floor space and will create a major new employment destination with the ability to cater for the needs of a wide range of new businesses. It will also establish a logistics hub for Greater Manchester. So the successful delivery of major housing and employment development at Future Carrington will clearly require some significant infrastructure investment. And the Council and Highmore are currently engaging with Highways England and Transport for Greater Manchester, and obviously the Central Investment Team, to secure delivery of a strategic link road between the M60 and the M62. And delivery of this major strategic infrastructure has the potential to not only unlock the Carrington site, but actually to unlock other sites across GM as well. So, in the long term, the development of future Carrington has the potential to deliver significant economic benefits, meeting Trafford's and Greater Manchester's growth aspirations. Over 13,000 jobs will be provided by new employment uses, alongside an average of 660 construction jobs per annum, plus a significant increase in GVA to the local economy and additional council tax and business rate revenues, which are always welcome. Clearly, we're talking very closely to the investment fund and to Eamonn, who we're hoping that will unlock some of that investment we need to bring the site forward as quickly as possible. So through our early engagement, we expect to unlock accelerated delivery in support of economic and housing growth, and delivering a vision of lasting legacy through transformational change and unlocking of significant economic and housing growth, both key priority for Highmore and for Trafford Council. And this is a unique and exciting development site. So in Trafford, we're pro-growth, pro-business, and if you want to come and talk to us about opportunities to get involved in this exciting development, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.